Welcome home to St. Anne's. We want you to know that you're welcome to join us at 10 a.m. on Sundays. Please be sure to hit subscribe to receive our sermons. We can't wait to see you. This is literally one of those Sundays, and I feel like I say this to you way more than I should, where you have one sermon planned, and you think you're going to preach this thing, and I know you don't believe me, but to some degree I do plan what I'm going to say. You wouldn't think that, would you? But there is method in my madness. And then you go to bed, and something horrible has happened. You're like, okay, well, I'm going to have to regroup in the morning, but, I've got night. And then you wake up, and something horrible has happened again. And unless you've been living under a rock, and let's be honest, we're all looking for a rock to live under right now. Yesterday, there was a mass shooting in El Paso, and it was driven by racism against immigration and all sorts of stuff. There was a lot of hate in that one. And then, again, overnight, there was another big shooting in Ohio. And we've had a lot of these lately. And I would imagine when you came to church, or any church across the United States, if you went to church today, because you may be in such a state of wanting to puke, that the idea of church is something you can't even handle. And that's okay. That's not okay forever. But it's okay for right now. Or you're in a place where, well, I hope in the pulpits today they talk about gun control. Or I hope in the pulpits today they better talk about mental health. Have you noticed that all of these are young white dudes? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if you weren't once a young white dude, you know a young white dude. And we have these horrible, and both of those are accurate concerns. Yeah, I'm looking at Travis back here. He's like, well, I'm a young white dude. Everybody's looking at me. We're not looking at you, Travis. You're good. And those are all valid concerns, because I think when something like this happens, we immediately want something to fix, right? We want something to do. Because if we can do something, then maybe, just maybe, we can fix it. I'm not going to do that, though, because we know the gun debate. And brothers and sisters, in this very room, there are people on opposite ends of it, and that's okay, because we know something is wrong. We don't necessarily agree on how to fix it, but we know something's wrong. And everybody in this room knows that mental illness is an issue. It has been for some time. We don't agree on how to fix it, but we know it's an issue. So we as Christians are somewhere else. And the question that I ask myself, and actually on my drive here, so basically the sermon you're going to get is my drive to church this morning. Yeah, it's about well thought out as me explaining life to 3 little girls in the back seat of my car. But we're going to try it and see how it goes. I said, soul, self, what shall I do? That was a play on the gospel. I am going to pull the gospel, and that's all you get from the gospel today. Soul, and I said, self, how does one preach the gospel in the midst of carnage? Because I feel like I am trying to do it a lot. How do we preach the gospel? And the gospel is this: love. We know what the gospel is, right? Forgiveness, grace, joy, peace. That is the gospel of Jesus Christ. How do we preach that in the midst of carnage? How do we do it? You're going to be really lucky if I get through this sermon without crying. So cross your fingers. That's when we need it the most. When we need the gospel most, it's in the midst of carnage. And it's not necessarily mass shootings. It could be horrible news. It could be something that doesn't make sense to you. It could be the loss of a job. It could be the death of somebody that should not have died. It could be in the midst of mass shootings. It can be in the midst of a stray bullet. It could be in the midst of anything. Our world is full of carnage. How do we preach the gospel in that? How do we find the gospel in that? And sometimes that's why some of us can't go to church today. And sometimes some of us, we seek church because this is when we need it most. We need to be surrounded by other people who are struggling to find the gospel in the midst of carnage. Right? Look around you. We're all trying to find the gospel in the midst of carnage. That's why we gather. And that's why there are empty seats too. How do we do it? And I constantly go back to St. Francis of Assisi, and this is what he said. He said, you know what? You preach the gospel always. When absolutely necessary, you use words. I think that is stunningly brilliant. And you know what my 7-year-old said to me? She was like, how do we make the world a better place? Because we humans are an invasive species. And I was like, girl, right on, out of the mouths of babes. And I said, yeah, we are. We are an invasive species, but we're also capable of greatness and doing good things. She's been on a hunt of Japanese beetles because I love roses. So do Japanese beetles. I do not like Japanese beetles. They are an invasive species. And so she has hence made the connection that humans are also an invasive species. And I'm like, girl, you're right. We are. So my children go out at least 3 times a day and pick those Japanese beetles off, put them in soapy water, and drown them. And I'm a little bit embarrassed by how okay I am with that, but not enough. I have beautiful roses, so I'm like, fine. So she asked me, so what do we say? What do we do? Like, how do we make this world a better place because we're destroying it? And I said, we live it. It doesn't matter how many times I stand up here and yell at you, or coax you, or beg you. It does not matter who says it, how loudly they say it. It doesn't matter how glossy the posters are, how brilliant the memes. None of that matters. It matters because we preach the loudest when we live it. And in the midst of the carnage this week, somebody preached the gospel to me. And I'm going to tell you a story because this man does not know what he did. And he sure as heck don't know that somebody's preaching about him this Sunday. Because if he did, he probably would have been like, I'll keep my quarters. So it's tax-free weekend. I have 3 children going back to school. So, you got to weigh, like, okay, we all need shoes, which are expensive, and it's tax-free weekend, so we all going to get shoes. So was everyone else in Jackson County. All the parents were like, we all getting shoes this weekend. And so we drag our children to Shoe Carnival because we all need shoes. I didn't say we need classy shoes. I said we need shoes. And I'm sitting around waiting and they have this huge gumball machine by the door. Big, massive gumball machine. The kind that the gumball goes down a little thing and the kids get to watch it. Such a scam, right? And cheapo Pastor Rhodes over here, we don't spend money on anything. I'm sure as heck not buying some gumball to let you watch it spin around and go in the car for the rest of the time because I like my quarters and I don't want to hear you sound like a cow. We ain't buying no gumballs. So I'm standing, but my kids are admiring it. I mean, and they know. They didn't ask for no gumball. They're just over there watching it. And a man leaving the store, and he doesn't say a word. He hands each of them a quarter, and he walks away. And their faces just go. And my face goes. And literally anyone who saw this went, because this man does not know us from Adam, guys. He doesn't know my children. He doesn't know them. He doesn't say a word. Like, they finally gulp enough to say thank you. I don't even know if you noticed. And from that, my children come to me and they're like, oh my gosh. And I said, well, what are you going to? So they get their gumball. They're very, very excited about their gumball. And then they ask me for a quarter, and they give it to 2 more children. And those people give it to 2 more children. And the same exact faces happen each time. Because, let me tell you, suburban Kansas City is full of parents just like me. We ain't buying no gumballs. We are getting our shoes tax-free after we waited 20 minutes in line to get these shoes. They're buy one, get one. Not just they're tax-free and buy one, get one. We are waiting in line to get our shoes, and we are getting in the car, we're going. There will be no gumballs. So series after series of these things happen. And I'm watching this. And I'm watching not just this happen to the children, but I'm watching the adults impacted by this. And I thought, that is the gospel. That man didn't say a word. He didn't speak to me about it. He didn't ask my permission. He didn't have to listen, chomp, no gumball, my backseat on the way home. He didn't say a word to them. He knows nothing about the impact because he left. He doesn't know that kept going. God bless his heart, he does not know I'm preaching about him this morning. And if he did, he probably want my quarters back. Guys, that is what we do in the midst of carnage. And I know we can't do it immediately, and that's okay. Because sometimes we need that intense grief. We need to scream about it. We need to cry. We need to question our very existence, not only the existence of the divine, but our very existence. We need that. We need that intense, deep grief of what is happening. And that's okay. We need that. But when we've let that out, we gather back together and we live the gospel. That is what we do. That is how we do it. We do it in those little bitty ways. Because we can be angry, we can hate, but all that will do is perpetuate itself. That's how we've gotten ourselves here in the first place. We allow rhetoric to go on silently. And then we're surprised when the rhetoric becomes action. You don't fight hate with hate. You don't fight rhetoric with rhetoric. You take 2 people who have different races, because I didn't tell you that, did I? I didn't tell you that there were 2 different races in this story. And I purposely didn't tell you. And you act on kindness, because that is what will make my children change. I can preach all that I want to my children. And believe me, they hear lots of good stuff. I'm full of good lessons. But me preaching them on the drive to church today will not make them good Christians. It won't teach them, yeah, we're an invasive species, but now what do? It won't. But you want to know what will? A man who preached the gospel without a word. Those are the things that will change our world. And so I beg you, weep, scream, cry, whatever we got to do. But then go be the preaching in the midst of carnage. We want you to know that you're welcome to join us at 10 a.m. on Sundays. Please be sure to hit subscribe to receive our sermons. We can't wait to meet you.